Hi, welcome. I'm here with Taha Hashim after a slightly frustrating second day of the first England-India test. We'll get on to why it was frustrating in a second, but let's start with the actual cricket. India battled through almost the whole morning session before Rohit Sharma gave it away just before lunch, and then, after the interval, all hell broke loose. Taha, Jimmy Anderson, what a guy.
Yeah, that was something special after lunch. First, the Pujara wicket is, it's Anderson. He's got the conditions going for his favour, gets the edge, low catch Butler, brilliant. But then, just as he's sort of running in for that second ball, I'm not making this up, I just sort of felt with everything going for him, with the movement he was getting after lunch, I just thought, he's got him. He's got Kohli here for the first time in 7 years? And then the ball sort of angles in, sort of nips away, just a gorgeous delivery, really. And yeah, 619 test wickets, and it kind of, you always take it for granted, don't you? Because it's kind of, you see it every year with Anderson. Every summer he does this, and he just and every summer you kind of think, maybe this summer he won't. Maybe this is the final summer, especially as he, gets older and older. And yet there's still that magic there. He's just a magician. It was something special, and still. It was just a spine-tingling spell. And then afterwards, he's just bowling it, he's getting the ball to nip away. And then as soon as Rahane comes in, he's looking for that in-swinger. He's trying to get into the toes. He's trying to get KL Rahul's toes as well. And it's just that sort of, there's the magic of him, but then there's also the analytical side. He could easily think, new batsman in, I'm just going to bowl that same delivery. But he's going in for the kill. And there's that wonderful combination he has where there's the entertainer, but there's also the tactician there, which is very clear to see.
Yeah, and the Anderson Kohli story is just a remarkable one, isn't it? I mean, to have like such high highs and low lows for kind of, specifically for Kohli, I guess, for that 2014 summer when it was like the lowest point of his career, when you wonder actually, is he going to even come back as a test cricketer after this, to 2018 when he kind of, although India don't win the series, he dominates it with the bat and Anderson doesn't get him out. But I think also the fact that the narrative of it is so strong means that you can actually feel like the cricket side of it has been quite like that. Like in 2018, he did have quite a lot of luck. He played quite a lot of full shots against Anderson. Anderson bowled really well, and Kohli just kind of didn't happen to get him. He was dropped by Milan on early on when he made that brilliant 100 at Edgbaston.
Yeah.
So this also feels like a bit of in a way, a reward for the work Anderson did 3 years ago when he bowled, kind of just as well, but didn't get Kohli, even though he got most other players in that series.
Yeah. And then, shortly after that, Anderson, even in this spell, he had one drop go, and that you're thinking there as well. Sibley failed to hold on off, who was it? Rahul?
I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's that thing where, that one more wicket there, that could have been something too.
And even though it was short, it was kind of a great day's play at Test cricket because it was just chaos that period, really, wasn't it? With that run out as well in there, where it kind of felt like India had been so in control, and then that one wicket of Rohit just kind of turns it on its head. We've had lots of questions in today. Thank you. Paddy Sidwell asks, how many tears collectively will you shed when Jimmy finally hangs up his boots? For me, it's 619 and counting, one for each of his Test wickets.
I just don't think he's going to retire. I just think he'll just keep going.
Taha, for some more questions. So Kartik Jayaraman asks, if England end up winning this test, would we suddenly have a situation where the 100 and test cricket can coexist and the 100 is no longer perceived as a threat to test cricket? Tom Kohli asks, are test matches decided after one day only when England haven't been good? And cricket analyst Ben Jones asks, is batting against the Duke's ball in seam-friendly conditions against quality attacks actually quite hard? Did people get a bit carried away with their criticism yesterday?
I think my sort of bugbear maybe with the criticism yesterday was sort of taking the shine off a superb Indian bowling performance. I thought the way they bowled was so incredible. What we were seeing with Bumrah yesterday, the shape he was getting on the ball. I mean, it was frustrating that people weren't talking more about that. I just thought it was extraordinary. And I suppose there's a obvious narrative there with England's batting struggles, and then you see another low score like that. I think it's justifiable to have a go at a team that's been bowled out for 183 on the first day of a test match after choosing to bat. Totally fine, but I think you've got to look at the manner of the dismissals as well. And maybe there were a few dismissals that weren't particularly impressive, but there was some fantastic bowling, and it it just got lost in I guess the story of this summer, where we've got the 100, we've got England's Test team struggling. I think you got to search for a bit of nuance, and the nuance was there in that Indian bowling performance.
Yeah, and I also think that in a way, if a team makes 300 but the par total is actually like 400, 450, they're actually going to get a lot less criticism than the team that gets bowled out for 180 when the par total is about 240, 250, which is kind of what it seems like in this test. I think the main thing for me as well as emphasising that Indian bowling performance is it just showed how well Rohit and Rahul batted in that morning session. It kind of basically felt like a clinic in how to play good swing bowling in helpful conditions. They didn't score many runs, but that's kind of what you have to be happy with when a team is bowling, like England bowled really well and the conditions were really tough. And Rahul in particular, playing his first test since 2019, I think he played beautifully. There was kind of one sort of square drive, I think, through sort of like cover point after he just got through a testing period. And then Ollie Robinson had a few words afterwards, but it felt like a sign of admiration more than anything else. And obviously he's 57 out overnight, and it's a huge day ahead for him tomorrow. We'll move on to the weather now. If you weren't following it, it was a bit farcical towards the end of the day, and the teams went off for bad light at first, and then it started raining, and then the teams came back on for one ball before going off again, and then came back on for two balls before going off. The bad light decision, as it always does, seemed to rile people, as did the amount of rain that was falling when they went off. Kind of felt like, it's only spitting, can they stay on? ESPN Cricket Info's Matt Roller asks, why does cricket choose not to help itself when it could, quite simply, help itself? And Kieran asks, should test batters be forced to play in dark conditions against 80 mile per hour plus bowlers for everyone else's entertainment, even if it could lead to serious injury? I know you kind of got to struggle to even confect an opinion on this.
You answer the weather questions. Yeah.
But my thoughts here are that it's kind of just one of those things. I think it's like it's not the beauty of Test cricket, but it is one of the weird things about Test cricket, that like the conditions do sometimes just mean you can't play. I think the suggestion that's kind of most interesting is using a pink ball all the time, particularly in the visibility. But I think one of the things that makes Test cricket in England so good is that red Duke's ball and how it influences games. It obviously keeps swinging throughout the innings. It gives enough to the bowlers. It creates this kind of big swings in momentum, I think. And Test cricket is best to watch in England than basically anywhere else in the world. And I think the red Duke's ball has a big part to play in that. So unless a pink ball can really behave comparably, which we know it like might swing a lot more early on, but then loses that shine a bit easier as well when that lacquer comes off. I think that's the thing. I think that's the trade-off for how good the Duke's ball is, means that we should resist going to the pink ball all the time, personally. Anyway, looking at the forecast, I'm sure we'll be talking about the weather plenty more over the coming days. The final question is from Anna Forsyth via YouTube. England never seem to get the white/red ball balance right. Has the time come to separate the squads more, get more counter-stars in the red ball squad, and get the franchise tourists in our white ball side? Or is it too late for that? Taha?
There's already quite a divergence there, I think. Look at England's top order. They're three players who are very much just red ball players. I know Zach Crawley played ODI cricket this year, but that was extraordinary circumstances. He was called up because of a COVID outbreak. Joe Root and Ben Stokes, two players who you desperately want in all three forms. They're two players who, I'm sorry, not Joe Root. Ben Stokes is one who you want in all three forms. He's the talismanic all-rounder. Who else is in that lineup? Bairstow and Butler.
And Curran, I guess, yeah.
I guess Curran too.
Yeah, but
it's a weird one. I think there's already enough of a gap there. I mean, I'm not sure. With the bowling attack, Broad and Anderson, obviously Robinson. None of those guys are, playing white ball cricket.
I think, I guess it is those sort of edge cases, though. I guess it's almost Butler, Bairstow, Curran, I guess, are the three you could sort of look at. Curran, but Curran you need in this side to balance it, really. There's not many people that England have that can bat seven and then bowl in a test
there's
attack.
Also, Bairstow is playing because Ollie Pope, who is very much just a test batsman right now, is he's in because of that. So I guess you're only looking really at Butler in this 11.
Mm-hmm. And in this instance...
And in this instance, Ben Folkes is injured.
Yeah.
So there's already that kind of, different setups there to begin with. So
and the hand is a bit forced, yeah. It's a tricky one.
So I'm not sure, yeah.
I kind of see the principle possibly going forward that maybe someone like Zach Crawley, say, if you think this guy is just going to be a world-class test batsman, maybe you do try and keep him away. I can sort of see an argument for that. I don't think England should, especially because it is so lucrative to be a top-class white ball player, that it's going to be pretty hard to say to someone like Zach Crawley, don't go play franchise stuff, don't try and make a white ball career, because he's going to want to do that. So I think it's just going to be a tough conversation to have with the players more than anything. But yeah, it's a good question, and asking in our YouTube comments is the best way to get your questions answered. So please do that. And thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.